Hi everyone, Scott here, and I'm here to teach you everything that you need to know about ILN. So I'm starting here with my new account on my starter dashboard where I have a bunch of components, basically tools to make your life much easier, that involve things like journal entries and notes and more. And I'm going to try a bit of a more specific dashboard to start with though, so I'm going to click here and here because I want to be a bit more productive, so I'm going to go to my productivity dashboard. Now, this dashboard is looking pretty good to start with. I already have things like to-do lists and notes, but I also want it to be a bit more to my liking. So I'm actually going to add a new component. So I'm going to click here, and then here, and I'm going to add the clock component. Now, the clock looks okay, but I want it to look a bit better. So I'm going to go to the settings, click here, and then here. And I'm going to change the theme from auto to dark, and the clock type from digital to analog. And then click done. Now it already looks better. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add a new dashboard. So click here, and it shows you a bunch of already made suggested dashboards to you. Things like the main dashboard, which is where we started, the productivity dashboard, where we currently are, and there's a bunch of others, things like social, phone. Now, I'm actually going to add the smorgasbord dashboard. Click there. And this is a great way to actually try out a bunch of different components, really get a feel for all the different things that you can do on your dashboard. It has the clock component, journal entries, notes, and a lot more. But one thing I really want to do is, I am currently a student, so I'm actually going to add a dashboard for my schooling. So I'm going to add a new dashboard, but this time I'm going to start from scratch. Now, this is my school dashboard, so I should probably name it School Dashboard. So we're going to click here and rename to School Dashboard. Now, I'm actually going to start adding some components. So I'm going to start with the destinations component, so I have a bunch of quick links to a bunch of different tools on ILN, such as the calendar component and notes. Missed a click there. Width to, and I'm going to set the width to large, so it's a bit wider in a more familiar format for me. I'm now going to add the scratchpad component, so I can just write down whatever I need to with ease, and now I'm going to also add the to-dos list, which will allow me to have a bunch of to-dos to keep track of things I will need to do for my class. I'm going to move that up so it goes into the corner first, though. And I'm also going to right align it just so it stays in place. Now, next I'm going to add the notes component just so I have my notes right in front of me. And I'm going to add the goals component so I can keep track of my goals throughout the semester. Now that I have these components set up, let's actually use them, though. So the scratchpad component, you just type in whatever you need, and it'll save it. I'm putting in a resource for me to check later for my class. And note how I clicked off it, but it's already saved. If you refresh, it'll just continue. See? It's still there. I'm also going to actually add a note to study ahead of time before class begins. Just hit enter, and the note's saved. I'm going to now add a to-do list, things to do for accessibility. I'm going to actually add a to-do by clicking on the name there to get my textbook, because I keep forgetting to do that, and I really need to get on that. I'm now going to add a goal, click there, get an A in accessibility. And I'm going to add a date for that goal. I'm going to add that for roughly the end of the semester, let's say May 15th. And now one last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to my calendar component through the destinations component, since it gives me those quick links. I'm going to go there, click on the 22nd next week, and I'm going to add a reminder to check on getting my textbook. And make sure to study ahead of time. Just add to there. Okay. And click Add. And now, if you want to go back to your dashboard, all you have to do is just click the Home button. And now I'm back on my dashboard, and I have access to all of my other dashboards as well. Let's talk about entries. Now, everything that you create on ILN is an entry. What that means is that everything is where you need it, and it behaves as you would expect it. For example, your notes are easily editable, your to-dos can be checked off, your notes are with your notes, and your goals are with your goals. Now, you can add extra entries by using the components in your dashboard, say the notes component or the to-dos component, or you can create ones from scratch, like I'm going to do now. Now, I'm going to click here, and you can make your entry essentially anything you want. Just click here. You can make it a journal entry, a note, a goal, a blog, you name it. Now, I'm going to make mine a note. So I'm just going to click there, and I'm going to call it accessibility. And now I'm going to add a component to it by clicking there. I'm going to add the to-dos component, so I can add some things to check off on this later. And then I'm going to click add on my note. Now it's created. If I go back to my dashboard by clicking there, you can see that my new note is exactly where I would need it. Now I'm actually going to save that link real quick, and I'm going to go back to my note, and I'm going to add some to-dos. So some things to learn about accessibility: use proper headers, navigation for screen readers. Just hit enter to add these, by the way. And additional tools for accessibility. And now I'm actually going to add a link to this page by clicking here and then edit. I'm going to actually add a link by clicking here and here. I'm going to paste in that link that we just saved a moment ago. This is a link to those resources for accessibility that we talked about earlier. And now I'm going to save my note. It's up to date. It has these to-dos here already. I can check them off if need be. And now I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And if you look at the recent activity component, which I added off screen, all of my entries that I just added are where I need them in my recent activity. I have all the to-dos that I added and the note itself. I'm going to now copy this. And now I'm going to go back to my note by clicking there. And now I'm going to add editor, see if you can fix that little toggle at the top, and continue. Now I'm going to add, by going back into edit mode, I'm going to add another link, the one that I just saved, which is a YouTube link. I'm going to add that. And note how it's already there. I now have a functioning YouTube embed on my page.
If your design
already works. Now, there's actually a couple of other things that I can add to this. I'm going to add a date by going back there. Click here. And then here, add a date. And I'm actually going to make a note tomorrow to look at this. So look at this list. I'm going to give it a name. Look at this list. And then I'm actually going to also add a location. Now, you can type in a location, give it a name, for wherever you need, although I already have one saved, accessible location, and it's already saved there. Now I'm going to save my entry, and then if I go back to my dashboard, then back to my calendar, you can see that I have the event for tomorrow. Things you can learn about accessibility. Look at this list. And I go back there, and I'm back at my entry. Now, I'm going to do a little bit extra. I'm just going to... This is just a show off. This isn't necessarily about this entry. But a little bit of extra stuff that I can add is I can add things by clicking here. and then this shows me all the files that I already have uploaded to my cloud. Now I'm actually going to add a new file. I'm going to add a private file, and I'm going to add a picture of this bunny. And then I can actually also add a file that is already there, a video file that's already in storage. It's actually another tutorial video, and I can save this, and those are also here. I have now that tutorial, and I have the bunny. Now back at my dashboard, I'd say everything's just about in line where I need it, and I can actually look up my entry as I need. So I can look up accessibility, if I can spell it right. Accessibility. Things you can learn about accessibility, get an A in accessibility, my goal from earlier. Things to do for accessibility, additional tools, and actually a certification accessibility by Thomas. Now, I would say everything is pretty much in order, and I would say we can move on. Let's talk about the cloud. Now, the cloud is your way of having access to pretty much any kind of file from wherever you need. Now, to look at the cloud, just click here, and it's going to start you off with looking at the files of people you follow. In this case, I follow ILN, so I see a bunch of ILN's files. Now, to see my files, just click around here, and you can see all the files I have, such as the bunny, other images, videos, etc. You can upload new files, say a picture or video of yourself using a webcam or camera phone or things like that. You can upload, in a more generic sense, you can upload a private file such that only people you explicitly give permission to can see the file, a public file such that anybody can see it. You can give some options such as a name or description, and you can add tags which make your file much easier to find. You can type in a new tag, like so, just hit enter or hit that button, although I'm going to add the already made tag, Cloud Demo, and I'm going to hit the choose file button. I can upload a doc, a video, and an image all at the same time. My bad. Click and drag, and you can click the open button and upload all three. And they're going to all upload with those settings that I had, such that they all have the tag, and they're all private. Now, you can do a lot of things with your file, such as download, share, give away, edit, things like that. I'm actually going to share this image with a few people. I'm going to share it with a member, a email, and a phone number. Now mind you, you would have to type this all out if you haven't already put them in once. I've typed these in before, so these show up for me already. So you only have to type it out once. Click that. And now I'm going to share this with those three. Click share. And because it's a private file and I'm trying to share this file with, say, an email and phone that might not have an account, it's going to ask for an access code. So just click yes on that. And the files are shared. Now, if I want to more easily find my files, remember how we added the tag to these. Just click this, the tags here, look through the tags that you have, in this case, Cloud Demo, and click that, and all files with that tag show up. Now, I did just add a couple of new files, so I'm going to just check on how much storage I have left, and I have only used 0.04 gigabytes of my 25 free gigabytes. Now, that's quite good, actually. I still have quite a lot of space. If I want to upgrade my plan, though, say I need more space, I could always upgrade by going here. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Upgrade. You can upgrade to, say, a Pro plan, 100 gigabytes, 500, etc. Now, I'm actually going to go back to my dashboard, because one of the beautiful parts about ILN is that now that we have all of our new files, I can add these however I want. We already have access to these new files. I can even actually do all the actions with these. I can edit this, say I can make this my math homework a public file. Save that. And it should be saved. Click off. And now I could add that, like so. My math homework. Homework. There we go. Editor, see if you can fix that, please. Continue. I'm going to make this a note. And now I already have my new file all set up with my entry. And I'm going to add the note. And that's the beauty of it. I can easily add files whenever and wherever, and I can use them however I need with entries and anything else. Let's talk about members. Now, members are accounts on ILN that create entries and content like you. You can follow their content, they can follow yours, etc. Now, there is a member on ILN who I really want to follow because 1, he's very knowledgeable about accessibility, the course that I'm taking, and 2, he's a really good dude. So to find him, we just gotta click here, then click on Search Members, and then type in his name. In this case, Thomas. Now that we are on his page, we can see he has a good trust level, meaning he can share with a bunch of people at one time. Trust level basically determines how many people an account can share with at one time. If you want to get your trust level up, just use the platform responsibly, don't spam anybody, because if you do spam anybody or things like that, your trust level will go down. Now, to follow him, all we have to do is click here, and then here. Now we're following him. The reason we're following him is because we want to share this entry with him, and you can only share with an account that you're following so that you don't accidentally share with the wrong account. Now to share, we're going to click here, and then here, then just click on his name, or we can type it in, but he's right there. And then we're going to give a little message. Click share. And now he has access. So if we scroll down and click on the privacy icon here, we can see that he has access. He can view because we said he can add because normally, or this is an open entry, although he can't share because it's a private entry. I can allow him to share, but in this case, we don't want him to share. We don't want anyone else to see this unless we say so. Now, if we wanted to add someone else, say Scott, type that in. There he is. Now, both of them have access, although Scott doesn't need to see this, so we're actually going to remove him. Just click this here and confirm. Now, that's the basics of the privacy. As a quick little thing, note that our entry here is private, but it also has a couple of other entries attached to it. Now, these are private too, but with a slight different permission. So, just to look at that, we're going to click here to look at the children entries, click on the timestamp to get to it, and if we click on the additional tools for accessibility, one of our to-dos, click on its privacy setting button, we can see that it's inherent private, which means basically that its parent is private, and so this entry is going to be private or public depending on what its parent is. So its parent is private, this is private. If we change the parent to public, this would be public. So say we change the things you can learn about accessibility to public, these would also be public, but because this is private, these are private. Now, if we go back to our private dashboards, click there, we can see that Thomas's stuff is where it should be. His goals now show up within our goals component. And if we go to, say, the social dashboard, see if he has any messages. Had a rough day, eating a whole bag of Cheerios and one sitting is tough. And we can actually comment on that. About are the best. And then just hit enter. And now we have added a little comment to his message. Hope he has a better day. And I would say that basically sums it up for members. let's take a deeper dive into components. Now, components, once you see what they're capable of with ILN, is going to be the real aha moment of why ILN is so powerful. So, to start with, we're going to create a new dashboard, although this is just to go over the new components. I don't want to just add a bunch of components to show off. On this dashboard, this is for school. So we're going to click here, make a new dashboard. Click here, start from scratch. And I'm just going to give this a quick name. Now that I have this dashboard for testing out some components, let's go through a couple of them. So to start with, I'm going to add the journals component, or diaries component. I'm going to add component, and I'm going to click there so I can find it. Oop, it is journal entry. It is journal component. My bad. Journal entries. There we go. Click that. And now we have the journal entries component on our dashboard. Now I'm just going to make this a little wider just to show it off a bit better. So this component has all of the journal entries and journals relevant to me all in one place. So to start with, I can click here to look at any journals relevant to me or create new ones. Right now I don't have any journals, nor does anyone that I'm following have journals. So I'm going to add, say, a new journal. Click here, add journal, call it my new journal. Click add. And now we can add, say, new journal entries to that. My first. Add that. And now we have a new journal with its first entry already made. If we want, we can say go to that journal by clicking here. And we can see it here. We can visit that journal itself. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And it takes me back to the all journals. But now if I click here again, notice how it's all journal entries, or I can just go to specifically my new journal that we just made. If I want to get rid of one or something, I can just delete it from there by clicking the edit diary list. Another component that is very good, and this is actually one of my personal favorites, is the destinations component. I attach this to probably every dashboard that I make. Normally I put it at the top, so remember, you can move things by clicking here, and in this case we're going to move to top. Push that there. We're going to also make it a large width. Yes, we're going to make it a large width. Now, the destinations component essentially functions like bookmarks on ILN. It can take you to places such as specific components and whatnot, or to even, say, entries or members. For example, if I want to say, I want to take a look at all my notes, I could just click here, and I'm now looking at all notes relevant to me. All the notes that I've made, or the notes of people that I'm following. I could do that similarly with ideas, messages. I can go to my calendar in the same way. And I can even go to my cloud files. Again, if you're wondering if, how I'm going back and forth, I'm using the back and forth button on my mouse. What I can do also is click this button, the add button, and I can add, say, a shortcut to a specific entry. I can add a shortcut to, say, my new journal, and now I could just click there. Give that a bit more width. Wrong click. And now I have a shortcut to my new journal. Or similarly, say I need to keep up with... I'm typing the wrong thing. Say I want to keep up with what Thomas is posting about, I can make a shortcut to him, to his profile, and it takes me right there. Now, I can also, say, change the text of what's involved by holding holding down a click on the icon, I suppose, and I can type in a new name. So I could just say my journal or something instead of my new journal, and then just either click off or click onto the whatchamacallits. And that is actually similar to how you delete. So you'd hold down, you just want to click the little trash icon, and it's gone. And I'm actually going to take away those, and I'm just going to make this large, keep that nice and snug. Another thing I can add is, say, the notes component. I'm going to make that small with, okay, maybe not small, medium, much better. I'm going to make that right aligned, up, fits in very nicely, and I can keep track of all the notes. Now, because I'm on my private dashboard, keep in mind that all the things I'm going to see here are based on everything that I have created and everything that I have access to of people that I follow or am subscribed to. So, Thomas posts something that is public or has shared with me that's, say, a note, I'm going to see here. For example, Scott made a post about the PC part picker. He made it as a public note, so that's showing up here. Or, for example, ILN has public journals, public journal entries, so those show up here because I follow ILN. Similarly, I have the, say, calendar component. Oh, there it is. Where I can keep track of, say, any events. I can add an event, something to do, and that event has now showed up. I can look at it through a month display, or I can do it through the weeks. Other things that I can do is actually the community component, which is a bit easier to look at a pre-made community. I can make one to start with, but it's a little easier to just go to one. So let's look at some of the recommended communities. So I'm actually going to use that as a method of finding one. If you're looking for a community, you can actually use the recommended forums, recommended groups. There we go. So recommended groups, we have a Pro 2A, 1 Amazing Animals and Pets, Beautiful Nature Photography, ILN Forums, ILN Members. Let's go to ILN Members for now. So let's click here. Now, this is a nice entry with plenty of content and whatnot, but the community component actually adds an extra layer of detail and view, which is over here, that little button over there. Click that, and it gives a whole new layer and reformatting of everything. You can see things in the form of messages, you can go to specific subsections, say updates from ILN, say a post about when the notes component was upgraded or when the scratchpad component was introduced, things like that. Similarly, we have messages, which I'm just going to go to social because I know I have the messages component there. So say the messages component shows messages of people that you're following or of that are attached to entries that you're subscribed to. So post from Scott saying that a introduction to dashboards on ILN is very informative. Thank you. Tom's rough day, or any other post that, or any other message that I have access to. Additional ones would be, say, goals isn't there, so okay, so I'll just add that. Say the goals oh wait, no, we have the goals component over here. The goals component, as we've seen before, where you can, say, accomplish a, like, for example, when I hopefully get an A in accessibility, I'll be able to accomplish this goal. Just click there. I can set an accomplish date, as I did in one of our earlier segments. And we can do that for other people's goals, again, assuming we have access to them. And then, finally, as another component, we also have the ideas component, where we have well, you can post ideas, things like that. Say I post an idea to, what would be an idea? Ideas for dinner, let's just say. Ideas for dinner. So say I want to make an edit of something, I might want to, say, add a note. Get chicken for dinner. I can add that note, and now I have a note attached to my ideas. And then I can close that. And that would be the ideas component, or I can do any extra actions with the ideas component here if need be. Now, in addition, that is what I can do with components on my private dashboard. There is also my public dashboard, which you've probably seen at least once. Remember to go to your public dashboard, or your profile. You can click here. And this takes you to your member dashboard, or personal dashboard, where it's all about you. It's the same, a lot of the same components, but in a context where it's just about you. This is your dashboard. This is what everyone can see if they have permission to see that. So any of your public entries will show up here in the appropriate components, or if they have access to it. So say we have the My Activity, we have My Cloud. So let's actually add a new component here, just to get the idea. Let's say add the Notes component. So, for example, I added the Get Chicken for Dinner earlier on that idea, and it shows up here. Things you can learn about accessibility are a note from before, my math homework, study ahead of time, all those notes that I've made before. They all show up here. So these three are private, so only I can see these, but this one is public. So say you or someone else visits my personal dashboard, you will see my note show up here. Similarly, there is also components on entries, as you know. So let's add a new entry. Let's see what kind of components we have here. Remember to add a component, click here. So similarly, we have notes, to-dos, comments, things like that. Keep in mind that notes here will only show notes attached to this entry. So as a quick little new note here is now in the children section of this note, or of this page. So this component will only show notes that have been attached to this entry, but if I go back to here, it'll show up in my dashboard because my dashboard is looking at all notes that I've created as well as any notes of people I follow. So let's go back there, go to the parent, just to get me back there. And let's go back to edit, take out the notes component. Gonna change the entry type to say, let's just call it a page for now. And I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite components, which is the forums component, because as a bit of a computer nerd, I have always wanted my own forum to keep track of my own ideas, things like that. And forums always look like a good format. With ILN, it's as simple as, I want a forum. You want a forum? Click this button. Congratulations. Hit the save button. My bad. 2 steps. Save. And now you have your own forums. So say I want a forum on, let's just say car enthusiasts for now. Nothing else comes to mind. Car enthusiasts. That's not how you spell enthusiasts, I'm sure. Car lovers. That's better. So, post about cars. We now already have a forum about cars. Simple as that. Click there. We can now add forum topics to that. Favorite. Let's say Jeep. we have a forum topic about the Jeeps now, and then say I can make a reply. My favorite Jeep is the Grand Cherokee. And then let's say 2004, which was my first Grand Cherokee. I think it's 2004. So in that little bit of time, if we go back to the parents, we have my forums with the car lovers forum, with the forum topic about posting your favorite Jeeps, and I can already reply in that new topic on that new forum in the span of less than a minute. One thing that I can do is put... would I do that here? Let's say I want to edit this, or edit the entry. I can actually edit certain things about the component, so by clicking here, I can actually change the image attached to this. Now, I don't have a good image ahead of time, but for now, let's just say the bunny. Now, what this is the image representing the component has changed, so save the page, and you'll see what that means in a minute. Now, nothing has changed here, but if we go back to our dashboard, and we see I need to scroll down, the My Forums, instead of what is normally the forums, the default image, instead it shows the picture of the rabbit. So, say it was a forum about rabbits or something. Oh, you'd see that, and know to click on that. And it'll take you to the forums. And then as one final little demonstration, just to get across the point of how components work, and to-dos, whenever I'm doing work on... notes and to-dos. Whenever I'm doing work, I usually, when I have a specific task, there are two things I usually like to keep track of. Is the specific things I need to do, and any additional notes. So I'm going to add those two components, and I'm going to just make a quick little manage display. How I do is I change it from the default to flex, so that it looks like this. Hit save, and I have a side-by-side view. That's just how I do things. So you can format it however you like. Now, by having these two components here, I can say, let's just say get milk, get bread, and then get eggs. Three tasks to be done. This entry now has 3 things attached to it: get eggs, get bread, get milk. But I can also make notes of go to, let's say, Stop and Shop for eggs, since it's on sale, or something. Get the rest from local grocer. So note how I have 5 entries with 2 different types amongst them, separated by component. I have all of my to-dos here, and I have all of my notes here. These separate it for me without my having to think about it. So if I take another look at the children, I have the 2 notes attached and the 3 to-dos attached, all to the same entry, but these components keep track of this for me. And again, like always, if I go back to my home page, everything, as always, is exactly where I want it and expect it. My notes are with my notes, my to-dos are with my to-dos, although they would be under a specific list here, which I don't have in this case. If I added, say, a to-do list to here, if I put a to-do list and then attach those to that to-do list, it would show up. But don't worry too much about that. And I would say that basically sums up everything.